What makes a good video game? In middle school, everyone said it was having the best possible graphics, but everything looks crisper than ever now and everything sucks, so that can't be it. Some people might say gameplay feel or an engrossing narrative are what define a great video game, but the people who say that are retarded. In this world, it's kill or be killed. In this world, time is the most important thing you have. Had I known that when I was 2, maybe I wouldn't be in this mess. If something can keep your attention locked in more than anything else, it's gotta be the best. Why else would you be playing it? Watch time is king. A little fairy told me that once. So by that metric, the best video game I've come across is Airstrike 2 Gulf Thunder, the one and only. I'm not sure what it is about this game, but whenever I think about it for too long or boot it up, 2 hours of my life are gone without fail. It's definitely the most fun you can have at your grandparents' house while being left unattended. I can't think of a game that was more influential to me that wasn't made by a company I now despise. Released in 2005 for the computer or something like that, it was made by Titan of the industry, Devo Games, famous for their racially provocative logo. Something I didn't know until 5 seconds ago is that the studio that made this game is Russian, something that will make itself apparent over the course of this video. Despite the last game they ever made being released around 2011, they were still operating in Russia to some capacity up until about June 2022. In other words, they were just fine up until a few months after that whole 2-week intervention thing or whatever that was. My headcanon is, in solidarity with notable figures like the Ghost of Kiev and Zelensky, they bravely filed for bankruptcy to escape Putin's evil regime. Anyway, this game is great. Have I mentioned that yet? Everything about Airstrike just makes me feel alive. Just like when I was 8 years old, the only high I can experience is when I see pixels of dead desert dwellers get decimated across the virtual landscape. I don't think you could get a more 2005 looking main menu if you tried. I do what I do best and push all the buttons that I shouldn't, like quitting the game and viewing those credits. In case you didn't believe me when I said this was a very Russian game. You know, now that I think about it, this is probably the most popular game that's ever come out of Russia, other than Stalker anyway. In the Information tab, you can find the paragraph-sized story of the game. It's adorable that they thought an arcade shooter really needed a story, but just in case you were curious, your primary mission is to destroy terrorists' secret bases and arms factories located all over the world. Now, I might not know the difference between Iraq and Iran, but I wouldn't call the Persian Gulf countries all over the world, but I gotta respect the attempt at inclusivity there. Man, seeing this first level really takes me back. I can almost smell the housing bubble in the air. There are two primary dev-intended methods of combat. Your primary being your guns, and your secondary being your missiles. Let me know if I'm going too fast for you. There are also specials that can be picked up throughout a level in case the children's game from 20 years ago is a little too hard. The second thing you'll notice right after the breathtaking next-gen immersive visuals is how loud this game is. So do us both a favor and lower the audio in order to retain your hearing so you don't go deaf. That way, my dulcet tones can still entice you. The general premise is that you want to kill all these terrorists who are operating all these helicopters and small arms and factories and refineries and mosques and all that other stuff. And your job is to destroy each and every one of them in the name of the motherland. Blow up the helicopters, blow up those awesome looking fighter jets that definitely didn't scare me when I was young, blow up the tanks, and just to let them know who's in charge here, land in their own helipad. 100%. Fuck yes. Only the Messiah himself could match my raw skill. This image is probably going to be the last thing I see before I die. Best loading screen of all time. You just can't make art this vibrant and emotional anymore. At least not without getting a knock on your door. Level 2, Steel Beach. First you have the grassy hills, and now you have the desert level. Getting a lot of Mario vibes here. I always love seeing this huge battleship just coming out of the corner, then immediately getting eviscerated by a few bullets. Friggin' sweet. It's also worth pointing out that if you really wanted to, you could change the camera style. You could have a top-down view, a high pitch or a low pitch, but I'll just stick with the default because I can't be bothered to try something new. This level has a wide variety of those power-ups I was talking about. Sticking with the Mario comparison, you have your airstrikes, your nuclear detonation, and your fireballs. It looks like Nintendo's lawyers have another suit on their hands. You may have also noticed these glowing gonads up in the air. Those are for giving you new primary weapons or upgrading your existing ones. To switch between your primary weapons, you're going to want to hit 2 for some reason, and then to switch between your missiles, you're going to want to hit 1. I really wish I knew how to do that when I was 8, because the only missiles you'll ever need are the green ones. They're homing, they're powerful, and I always thought they were stink bombs. And you know what? Maybe they are. There's always so much shit on the screen in this game. Instead of handing your baby whatever new spyware Apple came out with this year, just put this in front of them until they're 18. It was always a habit to unleash the load right before you come in for the landing. You can't take your missiles with you to the next level, so it doesn't really matter. Most of the architecture is looking rather Middle Eastern centric, which kind of defeats the whole purpose of that around the world tagline. But I'm happy to report that this level takes place in Italy, so that's at least one other region. Given the waterway and the clearly vibrant gay scene, I'll have to assume we're in Venice. I can't go another minute without talking about the music. The gameplay is fun and fast and very, very engaging, but the soundtrack, in all likelihood, is what kept this game fresh in my mind for the past 2 decades. Each one feels punchy and powerful and just makes you want to rip the head off of somebody, like those fucking terrorists. Good lord, I hate terrorists. God bless this beautiful man whose name I will never be able to pronounce. Alex, if you weren't drafted and you aren't gay, hit me up for a good time. Back to the game itself. The intended way to send those foreigners to hell is to shoot them, but you can also abuse your insane amount of iframes. You are also able to appropriate their culture by taking one for the team. By the 10th level in, you're going to be swimming in so many extra lives that this is an actual valid strategy. Crash landing even allows you to destroy some buildings that can't be destroyed by your normal artillery, which is cool to see. The next and best weapon we're going to get doesn't even have a name, so I'm going to call it Dragon's Breath. Not only is it the most powerful, but it's also quiet to fire, so I can take in more of that beautiful soundtrack. The geometry of the ground is malleable, so depending on the plane crashes, explosions, or buildings being destroyed, you get to redecorate the world as you see fit. The land units that have to drive over your handiwork look really stupid. It's also worth praising that in the night levels, you get this neat little headlamp they made dynamic. It's a sweet little detail. An Estonian dev team would have never thought to include that. The most notable thing about level 4, aka the worst level, is that you get 2 of the most annoying and useless weapons right from the get-go. Unless you move all the fuck out of the way, you are collecting utter trash. They look annoying, they sound annoying, they do hardly any damage, but at least their pointlessness amuses me. You get this wave-emitting gun, according to the info tab, and these electric bullets. Their whole gimmick is they can hit multiple enemies at once, but their trade-off is they also attack me by raping my ears. Keep them away from dogs. Level 5 is the last level to have an original music track, which is a real shame because all of these songs are wonderful, and it would have been great to have even more of them. These 5 really complement the level that they're in, but what are you gonna do? This is also the level where you get your final upgrades of Smelly Dragon's Breath, which, congratulations, you've just won the game. I knew this was a good weapon when I was young, and I liked using it, but I don't think I realized just how good it was and how much it outclassed literally everything else. I'd still recommend playing with every weapon. They're all pretty fun to use. My favorite looking one has to be these blue bullets with this red crossfire. It just looks sick with the red helicopter. Oh yeah, there's other helicopters, but if you use anything but the stock, you are cattle and not worth my time. Like any good arcade shooter, it's all about your high score. You can pick up these floating numbers you get primarily from destroying refineries or civilian buildings for some reason. You can pick up health packs in case you suck. The gold ones give you half of your health, the red ones give you all of it. You can pick up way too many extra lives to the point where it will stop displaying them all. If you somehow manage to get a game over in normal difficulty, there's really no saving you. And by far, the absolute most annoying element of this game has to be these fucking stars. It's the only collectible in the game, and they couldn't make it any more tedious. It increases the rank that you see at the end of a level, whatever good that does. I don't even know if they're worth any points. They're all spawned in by killing specific enemies within a level, but if you kill that enemy in an odd spot or at the edge of the screen, you are not getting that star. Most of them, not all of them, but most of them, go back and forth in this pattern over and over again. So if you kill one too close to the edge, it will zoom off the map and stay there for a long time. And by the time it comes back on screen, it'll be too late for you. They didn't have an issue spawning in the wrenches or the power-ups, so I don't understand how this is so much more difficult. You could call it an added challenge, but it's not exactly fair. Where's the challenge in having to wait for a collectible that you already earned? What am I supposed to do now that it goes off screen? Now I'm fucked, and I can't get it, and I gotta replay this shitty level all over again. I can't believe Nintendo hasn't sued these people yet. This is just one of those games that you just can't stress about 100% completing it, as if anyone would ever want to. I'm touched in the head, so I really enjoy 100% completing my games. It bugs me when I don't, but in games like these, you just have to let it roll off your back. Something I just noticed on this playthrough is the way the camera, your player, and other entities interact with each other. If a power-up was just spawned and is supposedly on the ground, or missiles were fired from the ground units, no matter how far away your player is vertically from them, it will still register as a hit or a contact. It's no design flaw, but a weird quirk of the way they put this game together. It can be beneficial sometimes when you're trying to collect a star that just spawned, but if you're hovering over a tank or an artillery gun, it can whittle your health down to nothing without you ever even seeing a bullet fired from it. It's the sort of jank you just have to appreciate from this era of indie games. You can really see how the Dragon's Breath just rapes enemy health bars. It really makes this whole game a joke. If you let this truck with the missile live though, you get to see how dedicated these desert dwellers are to defeating you. I've heard of suicide bombers before, but this is a little much. Level 8 is called Thunder Sky. This is actually a translation error, as there's no thunder in this level, but asteroids are falling on what looks like the Martian surface. Whatever god these virtual people worship has abandoned them clearly. They're not even a real threat to me, they're just a threat to the buildings. I used to think they were invincible, but apparently they're no match to the Dragon's Breath either. I gotta say, with the amount of devastation being wrought on seemingly normal people's homes, even I'm starting to have a problem with it. Out of nowhere, it's revealed you've been playing as Ivan Jack Me Off, real person by the way, and apparently we were being commanded by Solid Snake this whole time, after giving us the pep talk of the century, informing us that we are the only ones in between these terrorists getting missiles that can blow up an entire continent. I naturally wanted to see the terrorists win. This truck is insane. It has laser-mounted turrets, it's larger than 2 bridges, and shoots atom bombs out of its rear at you. Man, I really wonder where we might be. This could definitely be anywhere all over the world. What the fuck, I died? What about all my lives? How embarrassing. And just like the loading menu art, this work will also never leave me, reminding me that I failed an entire continent. Europa is lost. If only I had just used the Dragon's Breath. To make up for that joke, the next level is the hardest in the game. It's literally unbeatable. I don't think helicopters can swivel like that normally, but if they can, we're all in danger. The level's name is Target Practice, but I feel like this is more a lesson in defense. If you were looking for a deathless run, this is where it comes to die. I stayed alive for as long as I could, but in the end, I was only able to kill 2% of the enemies. What on God's earth were they thinking? Luckily, by some oversight by these devs, the game just lets you move on without beating the level. Thank Christ. Another quirk of the camera I forgot to mention. If you're as far forward as you're able to be, you will move forward faster, allowing you to beat the level even quicker. Keep that in mind for the any percent runs. Likewise, if you're waiting for a star to come back into focus, if you're holding all the way back, the camera will slow down. Don't say I never taught you anything. There are about a dozen more levels, each as fun and engaging as the previous ones, with it all coming together on the last level, 24, because they were too busy with Sevastopol to make a 25th. Big Boss makes his second and final appearance, telling us just how to take down these innocent civilians once and for all. At the end of the level, you run into Epstein's Middle Eastern hideout. I get a little overconfident and abuse my ultimate technique a little too much, and I almost run out of lives. It'd be super embarrassing to lose on normal difficulty in front of my huge audience. You take out these towers, which are actually missiles that come right back down. You take out the turrets, you take out the Heart of Lorcan, and you win the game. Now that's a sight only real legends get to see. This game is the definition of a good time. There have been several times over the past years where I'd open it up just to play the first level, and magically, I'd beat the game in exchange for growing 2 hours older. The art and graphics are charming, especially when you consider this game is 20 years old. The music is phenomenal, the sound design is punchy, If I was involved in making this, I would be proud. I clearly have a lot of nostalgia wrapped up in this, so if you think I'm full of it, as I mentioned, the company who made this no longer exists, and the game is now abandoned. So, you could play it right now for free and see for yourself. There will be a link in the description. Thank you again to all the developers who worked on this integral part of my childhood. I hope you have everything you ever wanted. I highly recommend giving it a try. It's really fun and addictive. Try to beat my high score. If you can't, you're worse than me, and you suck. Take care of yourself, and Merry Christmas.